Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, let's dive right into an absolutely incredible promise. What if I told you that 3 simple kitchen ingredients and just 1 overnight soak could literally make your seeds push out roots 3 times faster and yield harvests up to 5 times larger? I know it sounds a bit like a fairy tale, right? But it's actually pure plant science, and it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start by uncovering the seed's hidden deadbolt, then check out willow water roots, the aspirin armor, and the peroxide spark. After that, we'll bring the whole shebang together into the overnight protocol, and finally, go over exactly when you should skip the soak. Let's jump in.
First up, the seed's hidden deadbolt and unlocking the mystery.
Look, every gardener knows this absolute hair-pulling frustration. You do literally everything right, so why do perfectly planted seeds just flat out refuse to sprout? The soil is rich, you're watering them religiously, but crickets, just silence in the dirt. Well, it turns out the biggest obstacle to your garden isn't the weather outside or some bad watering schedule. The problem actually starts with a quiet, invisible chemical standoff happening right inside the hard, lifeless-looking shell of the seed itself.
The real culprit here is abscisic acid, or ABA. You can basically think of ABA as a chemical deadbolt. It's this compound inside the seed that completely prevents germination until it gets very, very specific environmental signals. It's kind of like a smoke detector, but wired entirely in reverse. Instead of screaming when danger appears, ABA keeps the seed locked down and quiet until it's absolutely sure the danger has passed. And that is exactly why just adding moisture and warmth isn't enough to coax them out. The seeds simply will not open, period. They need a specific signal to finally turn that deadbolt.
Moving on to part 2, willow water roots, the 60-million-year-old trick.
To figure out how to send that right signal, we have to look at the weeping willow. This is a tree that has literally been solving this exact problem for 60 million years. Think about it. If you snap a branch off an oak tree, it just rots, right? But if you snap a weeping willow branch and drop it in wet mud, it naturally rebuilds itself, pushing out these thick, fresh white roots in a matter of days. Why? Well, the secret is indole 3-butyric acid, or IBA. This natural hormone is found in massive abundance in young, flexible weeping willow branches. It acts as a direct command, telling plant cells to divide, multiply, and form roots incredibly fast. And honestly, here's the most fascinating part. IBA is the exact same active ingredient found in those $15 plastic bottles of commercial rooting hormone they sell at every garden center. The willow tree just manufactures it for free.
And the results? They are totally undeniable. By taking bruised young willow twigs and soaking them in room temperature water, we brew what old-time horticulturists like to call willow water. When you soak your seeds in this home-brewed willow water, it delivers this gentle hormonal nudge. And that nudge tells the embryo to start building a deep, aggressive root system immediately, making roots grow up to 3 times faster than if you had just planted those seeds dry.
All right, Section 3, the aspirin armor and protecting every seedling.
So, now that we've got these amazing roots, we absolutely have to protect them from a really tragic phenomenon known in the gardening world as damping off. This is a soil-borne fungal ambush. It basically collapses your beautiful, healthy seedlings right at the soil line, just folding them up like a cheap lawn chair. Now you might feel guilty, right? Thinking, oh no, I overwatered them. But listen, overwatering isn't the true villain here. The real villains are fungi, specifically things like fusarium and pythium that are just waiting quietly in the dirt for your unprotected sprouts to show up. Having strong roots means absolutely nothing if the plant walks right into an ambush with no immune system switched on.
To arm our seedlings, we can look at this highly poetic connection in history. Thousands of years ago, ancient Greeks actually brewed willow bark teas for pain relief. Fast forward, and scientists discovered the active compound in that bark, which is called salicin. Finally, that salicin was refined into acetyl salicylic acid. And you probably know that better by its everyday name, aspirin. That's right, the very same willow tree that gives us our rooting hormones also inspired humanity's most widely used medicine. And as you might have guessed, that is the second essential ingredient in our recipe.
Here's how it works. When we dissolve just one plain, uncoated 325 milligram aspirin tablet into water, it enters the seed and triggers what's called systemic acquired resistance, or SAR. This is a brilliant defense response. It creates a very gentle, simulated stress inside the seed, which preloads the plant's immune system long before a fungal threat even arrives on the scene. It literally thickens the cell walls, ramps up defensive enzymes, and provides this invisible armor against damping off. Which brings us to Section 4, the peroxide spark, shattering the sleep. So we've got the roots,
And we've got the armor. Now we just need the final ingredient to break through that chemical deadbolt we talked about at the very beginning and finally wake this seed up.
The results of this final ingredient are, honestly, staggering. In laboratory studies, pea seeds that were soaked in diluted hydrogen peroxide hit an unbelievable 75% germination rate in just 24 hours. To put that in perspective, during that exact same 24-hour period, seeds sitting in plain water showed almost zero movement. It is literally a night and day transformation.
So why does it work so incredibly well? Well, hydrogen peroxide acts as a sort of master key to shatter that ABA lock that's been holding the seed in suspended sleep. It triggers gibberellic acid to command the germination process to begin. On top of that, it activates a really critical enzyme called alpha amylase, which rapidly converts stored starches into usable sugars. And it delivers a massive rush of dissolved oxygen. Basically, it floods the tiny embryo with fast energy and oxygen, making sure the fuel supply is already pumping before the root tip ever even touches the soil.
All right, Section 5, the overnight protocol. 1 soak, 3 powers. Let's put it all together. It's time to bring these 3 components into the exact step-by-step master recipe used by the professionals. Step 1. Steep bruised green willow tips in room temperature water using roughly a 1:4 ratio for about 48 to 72 hours. Now, crucial note here, never ever use boiling water. High heat will completely destroy those delicate hormones. Step 2. Dissolve exactly 1 plain 325 mg generic uncoated aspirin per gallon of your freshly made willow water. Step 3. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide and stir it up gently. And finally, Step 4, soak your seeds in this solution for 12 to 24 hours in a cool, shaded spot in the dark.
Now, wait, before you run straight to your bathroom cabinet, I really need to emphasize a critical safety warning here. Always, always use ordinary 3% grocery store hydrogen peroxide. You know, the standard stuff in the familiar brown bottle. Never use the concentrated 35% food-grade hydrogen peroxide. If you use that 35% version, it will instantly burn and kill your seeds. Just stick to the standard brown bottle peroxide. That's all this recipe needs.
During that one quiet night in the dark, this protocol perfectly balances our 3 powers. You're getting 33% deep root programming from the willow, 33% cellular fungal defense from the aspirin, and 33% immediate germination spark from the peroxide. When those seeds come out the next morning, they're swollen, hydrated, and fully alert. Every single calorie of their early energy goes straight into explosive growth, rather than fighting off disease.
Finally, Section 6, when to skip the soak, because there are exceptions to every rule.
As any good educator will tell you, knowing when not to use a technique is just as important as knowing how to use it. There are certain seeds that should absolutely never be soaked. First up, beans, like bush, pole, or lima beans. They simply do not tolerate extended soaking. Actually, scratch that. They don't just tolerate it poorly, they will ferment, split open, and rot before they ever even sprout. Then you have natural sprinters like radishes and cabbages. These guys simply grow too fast and launch out of the soil so quickly on their own that they really don't need this extra push. And lastly, dust-fine seeds like carrots or lettuce. These just become an exercise in pure frustration because they are nearly impossible to handle and plant once they get wet. So for these 3 categories, just save yourself the headache and skip the soak entirely.
So, what does this all mean for us? The absolutely crucial takeaway is this. Rooting hormones and disease treatments are packaged up and sold to us in expensive bottles, but nature has literally always offered them for free. Commercial nurseries know this biochemistry incredibly well, but obviously they prefer selling you the bottled versions. You now have the empowering reality that the absolute best plant science is practically free, and it's sitting right there in your backyard or on your bathroom shelf. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Are you going to let your seeds just wait in the dark, hoping they eventually figure it out on their own? Or will you give them the exact spark they need to absolutely break through this season? I highly encourage you to step back, ditch those expensive nursery bottles, mix up this incredibly simple biochemical hack, and prepare yourself for a massive harvest. Thanks so much for learning with me today in this explainer, and may your roots grow deep.